Hey there, you beautiful badass. Welcome to the Keri Croft Show. I'm your host, Keri Croft, delivering you stories that get you pumped up and feeling like the unstoppable savage that you are. So grab your coffee, put on your game face, and let's do this thing, baby. Avena Women's Care is a collective of 40-plus providers that have been serving Central Ohio communities with comprehensive women's health care for decades. They meet women where they are in every phase of life. From fertility services to menopause care, annual checkups to 3D mammography, Avena provides robust services for all. So for the highest level of individualized women's health care, there's one name to remember: Avena Women's Care. Go to www.avenawomenscare.com to request an appointment. Be sure to tell them Keri sent you. Ready to elevate your self-care game? Boss Gal Beauty Bar is a modern med spa offering everything from cosmetic injectables, lasers and microneedling, to medical-grade facials and skincare. Conveniently located in Clintonville, Grandview, Powell, and Easton, making self-care a priority has never been easier. Use code CROFT for $25 off your first visit. Summer's coming in hot, but is your skin summer ready? Fine lines, sun damage, melasma. If these are cramping your vibe, the Moxie Laser at Donaldson will leave you glowing. Nervous about lasering your face? I tried Moxie and it was quick and gentle, perfect for first-timers and all skin types. And my results? 10 out of 10. And if you're a first-timer at Donaldson, mention the Keri Croft Show for $100 off your Moxie treatment. Don't say I've never done anything for you. Well, welcome to my show. I'm so glad to have you. I was just on yours. Now, turnabout's fair play.
I'm so excited to be here. I loved talking to you, so I can't wait to talk more.
I love the name of your pod.
Thank you.
I knew I liked you from that. And then when you told me the name of your book, I'm like, she's cool. What made you decide to call it Infertile AF?
Well, it started out actually before the podcast. I had a book idea. I wanted to write a memoir. And this was, 7 or 8 years ago now, after I'd gone through my infertility stuff. Because when I was going through the 3.5 to 4 years of recurrent pregnancy loss and secondary infertility, I was like, there's no books out there about this. I'm a journalist. I'm a writer. I've always been writing stuff and trying to share stories, and I couldn't find anything. So originally I was going to write a book called IVF AF, as fuck. And then when I started shopping the book around, or the book proposal around, I was getting no's left and right. And they're like, no one's going to buy this. It's not going to sell. There's no market for this. We already have an infertility book coming out, a memoir. And I'm like, one? You can't do more than one? So that's when I started the podcast. And then I realized that I wanted to expand it beyond just IVF. So I called it Infertile AF.
The rest is history.
And it's funny, Keri, in the beginning, I had a couple guests say no because they didn't want to be associated with as fuck. And I was like, okay, don't come on my show then.
You're like,
but
we would not be friends in real life.
Yeah, honestly.
Come on. You could tell so much about someone if they can't even come on a show that has AF. That's too clean for me.
Right. Exactly.
Oh
and
God.
Then, so it's basically, it's just kind of expanded beyond there, and haven't really had an issue with it since. Although, again, the podcast started in 2019. So people were like, that's going to be played out soon. But I feel like AF is still in the vernacular.
Oh, no,
it's still in this, maybe it's just going to always be there, I hope. So,
well, I also think just the way you have, I think that will never get old, because it's the truth. It's I'm infertile as fuck.
Isn't just the best word ever, though?
It's so the best.
It's my.
So why don't you tell, for my community, maybe just explain a little bit about you and what was your journey like going through infertility?
Absolutely. And again, thanks for just having me on and, exposing me to a totally different audience, because I think it's just so important to share our stories. Like I said, when I was going through my stuff, so I'll give you the truncated version because it can be long, but basically I had my daughter without assisted reproductive technology. When I got pregnant when I was 34, I had her when I was 35. I had grown up in the era, so it was probably much like you and many people listening, that it was like, you can have it all. You can have your career. You can have kids whenever you want. Don't worry about the biological clock. We were looking at Hollywood, and it was like, I remember Halle Berry had just had a baby at like 46. And, I was like, oh my God, I've got plenty of time. So I basically was very career driven. My husband and I had moved from Chicago, where we grew up, to New York for my job. I was an editor at Playboy magazine at the time. And when we got here, a lot of my friends back in Chicago were starting to have kids, because it was like late 20s. We were about to turn 30, but we were in a new city. We didn't know anybody. So we're like, we can't have kids now. We don't even know how to take the subway. So that kind of pushed off our timeline for family building. And I think that is a lot of the reason that we, ended up having problems. It was age related for me. So anyway, we had our daughter, and then I waited like 2.5 to 3 years before we started to try for baby number 2. And again, thinking I didn't have a problem, really getting pregnant with her, and had a fairly uncomplicated pregnancy, and she's healthy. And then I was totally like, the rug got pulled out from under me, because I had 4 miscarriages, back to back over the course of the next, I don't even know how long, couple of years. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Why am I not able to stay pregnant? And again, I felt so alone. I didn't know that it was called secondary infertility. There weren't that many podcasts really talking about fertility or infertility at the time. There weren't, like I said, books. I set out to write a book, and after it was all said and done, and people were like, no one wants to read about that, which blows my mind today. But, I just needed support. I think you and I talked about this when you were on my podcast. The way that I solve problems is by talking through them and connecting with other people that are going through similar things. And I'm very community focused. And I just felt so isolated and so alone. I didn't have any friends who were going through it at the same time as me. I didn't even really know what IVF was. Honestly, I thought that, remember Octomom?
Mm-hmm.
That moment? I thought that IVF was for people that wanted to have like multiple babies. I really that's
sense,
how, yeah. I had a friend of a friend who'd gone through it, and turns out I had more people in my life than I knew, but nobody was really talking about, miscarriages and going through fertility treatments. So basically, after the 4th miscarriage, I went and saw a specialist, and he ended up being my doctor, is Dr. Joshua Klein. He was at RMA at the time, and now he's with Extend Fertility, which is a really great clinic in New York. And he was like, yeah, this is an egg quality issue. As you get older, your egg quality diminishes. And I was like, what? No one's ever told me that before. I didn't know any of this. And so he said, you're actually the perfect candidate for IVF. So I actually got very, very, very lucky, because part of the story is that my husband and I were really at odds about doing treatment. It's really expensive. We didn't have fertility coverage, so it was all out of pocket. The price ranges for people listening that might not know. It's like one round of IVF is like around $30,000, all in. And that's a lot of money. But to me at the time, I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, I will pay $4 million because I want this next kid so badly. And my husband just wasn't really on the same page. He wanted another kid, but he saw the heartache that I'd gone through, and it was, miscarriages and depression and all this stuff. Our marriage was really suffering. So we finally agreed, after borrowing money from both sets of our parents, to go through it, because we didn't have the cash at the time. We agreed to do one round of IVF. And long story short, I got 5 embryos that were PGT tested, where they test the chromosomes and make sure they're normal before they do a transfer. And then one of the embryos out of the 5 came back healthy. And so we did the one transfer, and it did work, which I know now that was so incredibly lucky, because I have so many friends in this community, in the fertility community, and Fertility Rally members who have gone through 5, 6, 7 rounds, of transfers, and they didn't work, or they did, but then they lost the pregnancy. So I got very lucky. I got pregnant with my son, had a, again, fairly uncomplicated pregnancy, and had him. So, like I said, I'm one of those people that's like, did IVF once and it did work, which is hard to kind of, now that I know how hard it can be for some people, there's like a guilt there. Cause I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't have it as hard. I wasn't in it as long, but using my own advice, that's like, this isn't the pain Olympics, right? Like we've all through our shit. We've all gone through our struggles. So
yeah, we can't compare. Like
basically,
that's what everybody says to like, oh, you can't compare. It's all hard. It's all hard.
It was so hard, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. And my heart was broken so many times throughout that whole process. I still have PTSD about it. I interview people all the time and talk to people all the time, and I still get that feeling, that physical. I don't know if you do as well, like when you talk about stuff like that, but yeah. I still feel so traumatized by, what I went through. Like wanting to have a baby and not being able to have one is really sad and hard. And, you see people successfully doing it around you with no problems, and, you're mad at your own body, and, there's just a lot. It's very complicated.
It is. And then for you to feel so passionately about it that you decide to like do an entire podcast on it, to help other people. When did you start it?
I started the pod in March of 2019.
Okay.
And, the first episode was me telling my story, because I was like, if I'm expecting people to get like real and raw, like I have to walk that walk and talk that talk first. So the first episode is just me. And then this week, the 335th episode will come out. So it's been once a week, for the past 6 years plus.
And such therapy for everybody. I mean,
for me too. I mean, it's kind of started out selfishly, right? Like I was like, I need to get this out there, and who knows if I wasn't anybody in this, field. And, just like I said, a journalist, and had no background in the fertility community, didn't know anybody, and was just like, I'm just going to put it out there and see what happens. And, turns out people really do like to hear these stories and, want things to relate to. So it's been really successful. And I'm just so grateful for everybody who has come on the show, including you, and who's been willing to be vulnerable and share their stories. And every single person, I swear to you, every single person has wanted to share their story to help other people, which is awesome.
Yeah, because when you're in it, you really do feel like you're the only person that's gone through it.
Yeah.
You really do feel alone. So when you hear someone else, especially the intricacies of infertility, like, PCOS or secondary infertility or egg donor, like there's all these different rooms within the house. And so when you find someone who has experienced that same room, you're like, oh, wait, like I need to you're like a magnet. You want information and you want to feel like, oh, we share something.
Completely. Yes. Because there's, like you said, there's so many different ways that these routes and these journeys can go. And there's so many different outcomes and treatment plans and paths. And sometimes you don't walk away with a baby, and sometimes you do, and sometimes you lose a pregnancy. There's just lots of roller coasters along the way.
Yeah.
Stress and inflammation take a toll on your body and your wellness. Relax, restore, and rejuvenate at Panacea Luxury Spa Boutique. Book any service of $100 or more and enjoy 2 hours in our luxury amenities. Unwind in our Himalayan salt saunas. Recharge in our wet retreat space with a eucalyptus steam room, hot hydrotherapy pool, and cold plunge. Then drift into deep relaxation with our hanging loungers. What's your panacea? We'll help you find it. Listen, nobody loves laundry day. But thanks to the Fluff, laundry is officially off your to-do list. Just schedule your pickup on the Fluff app, toss your dirty clothes in any bag you've got, and leave it on your front porch. The Fluff handles the rest, returning your laundry fresh, folded, and in our reusable vinyl bag in just 24 to 48 hours. Flat rate pricing means you stuff the bag full, and yes, pickup and delivery are totally free in Central Ohio. Use promo code Keri for 20% off your first order. P.S. Ask about our monthly subscription to keep life simple and your laundry done. Who says you need a special occasion to feel like a celeb? I mean, stress is real. Life is busy. And your scalp? Yeah, it deserves some love too. That's where Headspace by Mia Santiago comes in. Treat yourself or someone who deserves it to a luxurious scalp treatment and a killer blowout or cut. Because nothing says main character energy, honey, like a fresh style from celebrity stylist Mia and her team. And because we love a good deal, mention the Keri Croft Show and get 20% off your service or any gift card for somebody in your life that you love. Headspace by Mia Santiago, because great hair days shouldn't be rare.
Do you do like freelance journalism still?
I do. Yeah. I edit a sports website.
Oh, do you?
Which it's so funny. I mentioned it the other day. My kid's like, you do? And I'm like, yeah, I have for like 5 years. They're like, you never mentioned that. I'm like, yeah, it's just one of the many things.
It's one of the many things that mom dips her toe in, children.
Just trying to, get those bills paid.
No, for sure.
No, yeah, I still do journalism, stuff like that on the side. And, I think that it's funny to think that, I was working at Playboy, my first job out of college, and now I'm like in the infertility world. Like, what a weird trajectory. But I guess when you break it down, the gist of it is like, I've always loved to tell people's stories and like share stories. So there's like a storytelling, I guess, through.
What was that like working for Playboy?
Oh my God, it was so fun. So I started there when I was in college. I wrote a letter. This is so funny. I wrote a letter, Keri, to Hugh Hefner. And this is in the mid 90s. So there was no, email was just starting. I wrote a snail mail on my computer, printed it out, put it in the mail, sent it to the Playboy mansion in LA. And he read it and they called me on the landline at my college house where I lived with 8 other roommates.
Girl, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Literally. Isn't that wild?
That's amazing.
It is weird to think that it all worked out. And they called me, his assistant called me. I remember my roommate, Michelle, answered the phone. She's like, Hugh Hefner's assistant's on the phone. And I was like, holy shit. And she's like, Hef got your letter, dear, and was really interested. And what I basically said was, he and I went to the same college, University of Illinois, and there was a Hugh Hefner magazine scholarship at my school in the journalism department that my professors awarded to me. So that was my I won your scholarship. And he was like, we'd love to have you come into the Chicago office for an interview. And so I was like, oh my God. So I went in, interviewed for an internship. When I graduated, I was supposed to be a 6-month thing on the editorial staff. And then I worked there for 10 years.
Stop. Did you ever go to the mansion?
I did. Yes.
What was that?
I have. All right. When you and I have drinks sometime or go out, I'll tell you my mansion stories.
Oh my God, I love that.
I have some really good tea from the mansion. Really good tea.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. It was fun. It's everything you've heard, all the debauchery and stuff, that is fully true. And I will say though, because people are like, did you work with Hef? I worked with him pretty closely because we did there was these party pages in the front of the magazine that was photographs from all his parties. And I worked on that with him. And he was great. I loved him. He was very respectful to me. I never felt any type of way that it was I've heard people coming out after the fact who said that, not people that worked in the magazine, but some of the playmates and stuff that, maybe he didn't treat them with respect, but I never, ever felt that way. I always felt respected, and I really enjoyed working with him. He was a trip.
Was he always in a robe?
Yes. A lot of the parties were it was the Midsummer Night's Dream. So the dress code was lingerie or less. So he would be in his pajamas with a robe, and he usually was. That's really how he dressed.
So
yeah.
But so you're actually writing a series of books on infertility?
Yeah. So I have thank you so much for bringing that up. So I have a couple of children's books. My second one is actually just coming out now for pre-order. The first one it's called Work of Art. So it's a play on assisted reproductive technology. And it's the story of my son hearing me tell someone that he was an IVF baby on the playground, and then him being like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. And then me explaining to him the way that he was born. So it's the illustrator I'm working with, who has signed on for the whole series. He's awesome. He's in Buenos Aires and he's so talented. So I think the illustrations have a lot to do with how much people really like the book, because it's very cool looking and he's just really talented. So it's, it's the whole point of the books are to normalize the conversation again around, families being built in so many different ways, and kids who were born through ART, IVF, IUI, surrogacy, all the things, feeling normal about it. And, like, even though my son and my daughter came into the world very differently, like we wanted them both so badly. And we just want to take any stigma away that might be out there, with people thinking that ART is like less than or different, it's all coming from a place of love. Like all these kids have been created coming from a place of love. So the first book, Work of Art, is like my family story. And then the next book, it's called Beautiful Bird. And it's a different family building story. It's about an IUI and it's about a sperm donor and an LGBTQ plus couple. And it's just kind of, again, it's just like a thoroughly modern family story. So it's been really fun to work on these, and they're all true stories, people that I know who are in my life. And then the next one will be a donor egg story. And then I'm going to do a surrogacy story. So just, trying to create, again, like kind of with the podcast, just putting stuff out there where people can be like, I can relate to that. That's me. That's my story. There's not a lot out there right now. Not that there's no children's books, but, I'm just trying to contribute to the libraries of people, who, even if your child didn't come into the world that way, to have that in your library and be like, this is another way that like things can happen. I think it's just all about acceptance and, making it normal.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love the whole idea of the book series. What is do you, like, in your ideal world, would you stop doing editing for like anything else and like be fully immersed in something that has to do with the infertility world and like parlaying your podcast, or like what's your vision for that?
Such a good question. Yeah, I mean, it's mostly, it's like 95% of what I do anyway. And, I have Fertility Rally too, which is a community of members all over the country. So it's kind of like the podcast, the rally, and the books are like the three parts of the fertility stuff that I'm doing. I'm actually starting to work on some menopause stuff and possibly doing a menopause podcast with a company that I've been talking to. So again, sharing stories, talking to experts, all that stuff. So I think women's health, like the women's health space in general, is, where I will be for the rest of my career, but touching on all different things, that aren't, not that menopause isn't being talked about, because it really is having a moment, but I feel like with what we're talking about doing, it would be different than anything that's out there right now. So again, just sharing stories, blasting stigmas and all that stuff.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, can you tell us a little more about the rally?
Yeah. So Fertility Rally is a community I co-founded with a woman named Blair Nelson, who lives in Austin. And she and I met through my podcast. She was one of my early guests. And then we just kept talking and hit it off as friends. And COVID hit, in 2020, as everyone remembers, fucking awful time for so many people. And we were just on Zoom all the time. And we started hosting these like Zoom support group, or like happy hours, basically, where we would, we'd met people in the Instagram community who were talking about fertility and infertility. So we started hosting these calls and like, does anybody want to come and talk about what they're going through? And it just turned into a thing. Like, I remember one call, we had like 60 people on it. We were like, holy shit, should we like make this a thing? So we created a membership, called Fertility Rally. And basically we still do the same things. We have 4 to 5 different support groups virtually every single week. She and I host one every single Wednesday night. And we have since June of 2020. We have other hosts who do, different groups throughout the week. And since we launched, we've had almost 5,000 members, kind of come through the doors. So again, it's just another way to like create a space. And like I said earlier, like it's a selfish, like these are all the things I wish I had when I was in the thick of it. So like I keep, what else do I wish I would have had? Oh, a community, books, all this stuff. So everything I'm creating is just basically coming from the place of like, what do I wish I had?
Yeah, but that's the right spot, right? Because you're trying to serve the person that you were. So it's like, why would I not want to like figure out how to give the resources that.
Totally. Yeah. And also with the rally, we have an IRL event coming up in Nashville where it's just a fun bonding weekend. So this will be our 5th one. We did one last year in Austin. We've done them in Chicago. We did another one in Austin, and we did one in Jersey, which wasn't like a whole weekend. It was just like a dinner. But we are just all meeting down there, whoever wants to come, who's a member, current or former, and spending the weekend just having fun and bonding.
Oh, that's cool.
And so we do stuff like that too.
I love that.
It's kind of like a retreat, but there's not like programming. We basically just we have like a pool day, and we have a nice dinner, and we have like a drinks thing. And, it's just
coming like a big girls weekend.
Yeah. Our tagline is worst club, best members. So it's just a good excuse to get all these awesome people together from all over the country who otherwise might not be in the same room together. You know what I mean? Like I look around the rally group sometimes and I'm like, I never would have met her ever if it wasn't for infertility, or like the ages are so different and the backgrounds are so different. But the common thread is like, we've all been through this trauma of our own kind.
Oh yeah. Anything else you want to make sure that we let the community know, let peeps know about you before we wrap, Ali, other than that you're just, fantastic on so many levels?
I want to hang out with you. That's what I want.
Where are you again?
I'm in Jersey,
okay,
just
so
outside
not
of
that
New
far away.
No, we're close. So we gotta plan some stuff. We should do like some events or something.
I absolutely would love that. I think we need to, put our heads together, figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, I think the only other thing I would say is just if anybody's listening who is going through any sort of fertility struggles or journeys, like please reach out to me. My DMs are open on Instagram. You can check out like a rally support group and see if you like it before you commit to anything. The books, I'm self-publishing them. So it's always like word of mouth is great. So if somebody's, checked out Work of Art or Beautiful Bird and likes it, like spread the word to your friends. It's again, all just trying to normalize, all this stuff and help people feel less alone. So if anybody is struggling, like, please know you're not alone. Even if you think that what you're going through is so different, like there's definitely somebody out there who's gone through something similar, and I'm happy to connect people. I love putting people together like, oh, you should talk to this person. And, I feel like, the one thing I love, and I think I mentioned this to you before, is like, what I really love about you is like, you're a girl's girl. And like, you can tell you like to lift up other women and other people who are doing important things and worthy things. And I really admire that about other women. Like the older I get, the more I'm like, does this person show up? Like that's such an important quality to me. So just know that like, I know you show up for your community and your friends. Like I try to show up, but like if people are out there feeling like they don't have anybody that shows up, reach out to me.
I love that. Well, I'm so happy that for whatever reason our paths cross, and I was stalking you.
Me too.
now we're friends. You can't
I love it.
Can't get rid of me.
I love it. I can't wait to do more
I know.
things.
Let's seriously stay in touch.
All right, Keri. Thank you.
I'll talk to you soon.
If you need anything else, thank you for having me, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Ali. Thank you.
Right.
Okay, bye.
Bye.